Hello, everyone.
Hey, Rosa, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hang on, let me get my video working.
Oh, okay.
All right, all right. Where are you calling in from, Rosa?
Maryland.
Maryland. Okay, well, I'm down in North Carolina, so we're pretty much the same area.
Oh, yes. I didn't realize that earlier when I tried getting into a meeting. Didn't realize the host was out in California. So I was like, okay, I was too early.
Did you come in from the website or?
Actually, I came in through my email link.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait, your host back again. And
Okay.
Nancy's going to be your TA for this class.
Okay, great. And
Thank
you've
you.
got her. All right. See you later. Bye. Yeah, so everybody else should be coming in another minute.
Okay.
Hello, Wade.
Hi, good. Hang on 1 second. Hi, was that Rochelle?
Regina.
Okay. Got several people coming in. Okay, hi, Rochelle. Are you there? You're muted if you're trying to talk.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, gonna check on everybody here to make sure I can hear them. Tagar?
How you doing?
Hi, welcome. All right, and then is that Regina?
Yes, it is. Hi,
All
Wade.
right. Hi, Regina. There you are. All right. And I've got Rosa already. Let's see who else is coming in. Okay. Up there. Hey, Byron.
Brian.
Brian.
Yep. Hi. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Somebody is iPhone. If you want me to rename you, I can, or I can show you how to rename yourself. Hey, Sally. You're muted, Sally, if you're up there. You are. All right, now I can hear you.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Okay, is that Clifford Nesmith? Okay. And again, if you can hear me, just unmute and say hi, trying to make sure that everybody's microphone is working and I can hear them.
Hi.
Oh, there's Lucy. Okay, hi, Lucy. I can hear you. Great.
Hello.
Okay, and who is that under iPhone?
This is Leslie.
Okay, did you want me to rename you?
You can.
I'll just rename you and it would be just for this this class. It won't change you permanently.
Okay. Fine. Thank you.
In case you want to be anonymous when you're coming in somewhere else. That way, when you're asked a question, I'll know how to respond to you. All right, there you are. So you're Leslie for the rest of the class. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, hang on one second. Something's going on in the other room.
Your 3-hour timer on kitchen is ringing. Your 3-hour timer on kitchen is ringing.
Alexa's yelling at me from the other room.
Have Simple Translator enabled. Do you want to open it?
Okay, so let's see who else is coming. Karen, I see you're there.
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you.
All right. And W. Drummo. I want me to change your name. I can put your first name in. If you can hear me, if you want me to change your name on the screen, I can change it. Whoever's under W. Drummo. All right. Okay, is there anybody else here that I haven't heard from? Oh, there you are. She's coming in. Okay, let me see. Got a few more people coming in. That's great. Okay. We used to take the first 4 to 5 minutes just to give people to get in. I know sometimes people are in another class that runs a little over time. And make sure everybody's technology is working. Got a few other people coming in, and we're going to get started in just a minute. Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right, great. Hi, welcome. And then as Zilla, am I pronouncing that correct? And okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with some of the housekeeping issues, and then we'll actually get into the class in just a couple of more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen first. And move your pictures around so I can see you on my other monitor. All right, there we go. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. I'll do that several times during the course of the class. Probably anytime I start to hear any background noise or echoes, I'll mute everyone. So point there being is that when you have a question or comment, just be sure to check and see if you are muted. And if you are, please unmute. And then just go ahead and ask your question. You don't need to raise your hand or anything. Just unmute and ask away is fine. I've also opened the chat. And Nancy is here from our Get Set Up TA group, who's going to help me monitor the chat. So if you're having problems with your microphone or you need to get to us through the chat for any reason, that is now open. But if your microphone is working, please just go ahead and ask your question out loud. So that way everybody else can hear your question and I will hear it as well. But we do have the chat open if you need it. Let me do one thing right here. All right. Okay, so I think that is the gets all the housekeeping things out of the way. So let's go ahead and start the class. This is Excel Basics, and I do want to welcome everyone to the class. Thanks for joining today. My name is Wade Yarber, and I'll be the guide for the session today. A little bit about me. I'm from a small town called Mason, Tennessee. That's close to Memphis, Tennessee. And I have a degree in psychology and have taught college in psychology, but spent most of my career installing and training users on healthcare information systems, primarily hospital systems, training doctors and nurses. But what I love about teaching with Get Set Up is that I'm teaching people that are in the class because you want to be in the class. It's the topic you're interested in, as opposed to people that I've trained before that are in my class because their employer made them come to class. And yeah, that's what we try to do, is to create an environment and Get Set Up where you can take classes about topics you're interested in, along with other people that are interested in the same topic, where you can interact with each other and, of course, interact with the guide presenting the class. That's what I call the full Get Set Up experience, and hope that you're enjoying that as well. The session is being recorded, and any participant can request a copy of that recording. To do that, you just need to send an email to help@getsetup.io. And I'm going to put that in the chat in case you don't have this already in your email contacts. Go ahead and write that down or copy that over into your email. You'll need it to get the recording, and there's some other things you'll need that email for as well that we'll talk about in the closing slides at the end of the session. We're also live streaming the session today, so we want to welcome anyone that's joining us via live stream. Thanks for joining us as well, and hope you enjoyed the class. But I want to also remind you that the way to get that full Get Set Up experience is to go ahead and register for a class. That way you can interact with the other learners and ask questions of the guide. And finally, Get Set Up is not paid to promote any of the products that we train on. We are purely trainers. Okay, the agenda for today, this is a basic class, a beginner's class for Excel. So we'll talk about a little bit about what Excel is and how you get access to Excel. We'll talk about how to get started creating Excel workbooks and spreadsheets and how to save them. How to use simple formulas and functions. That's really the key part of spreadsheets. So we'll talk about some of those and talk about how to enter, format, and copy information as well. So I'm going to be going over some background information here. So if you have any questions, please stop me. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but if you have questions, need me to go over something again, just unmute and ask your question. We'll start with what is Excel, and Excel is a powerful spreadsheet program, and you use spreadsheet programs to enter and manage data in the form of text and formulas. Have a little bit of background noise here. Excel has been the undisputed market leader for, I'm still picking up a little bit of background noise. Hang on just one second. All right. Okay, so Excel has been the undisputed market leader in spreadsheet programs for a long time. They weren't the original ones, but they've been the leader for quite some time. But Google Sheets, which is also a spreadsheet program, is gaining a lot of popularity now. We also have classes on Google Sheets as well, if you're interested in Google Sheets. So how do you get access to Excel? Some of you may have used Excel before wherever you worked using their copy of it, but to get a personal copy, the primary way is to subscribe to Microsoft 365, and that is a subscription program. It's $69.99 a year, but for that money you get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneDrive, and with OneDrive you get 1 terabyte of storage. That's 1,000 gigabytes, so a lot of storage. There is also a free online version of all the Microsoft Office products, but they're not the full functioning version that you get with Microsoft 365. So if you want the full program, you've got to go with Microsoft 365. And there'll be an email coming out after class. And in that email, I'll have links to Microsoft where you can get more information about subscribing to Microsoft 365 and what Office Online is as well, if you have questions about that. All right, so with that, let's go. Any questions about that background material before I jump into Excel? All right, if not, let me go ahead.
Yes.
I'm going to.
Excuse me, Wade.
Yeah. Go ahead, Karen.
I have a Mac. Does this work on Macs or not?
It does. There is a Mac version. You can get Microsoft 365 for Mac and use it on a Mac.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It will look slightly different, but it's close enough. I think you can follow it pretty closely. So I went ahead and opened Excel, and since it is, and let me open it a different way for those of you. I have a shortcut down here in the taskbar, but if you're new to it, once you've installed it, it will be here in the start menu. So you can just go to, this is the Microsoft 365, and click Excel here and open it as well. So there's several ways to get to it. And this is the home screen. And there's a couple of things you can do from here. One is you can start a new document. And there's two ways to do that. You can just start with a blank spreadsheet, or you can start with a template. And a template is a pre-formatted spreadsheet. If you click here where it says more templates, it'll take you to the full template list. And you can see there's lots of different templates out there. They've got things like calendars and invoices, balance sheets, student schedules, lots of different things that you can use as a template to get you a start. And sometimes that is quicker if you're not already used to using Excel. I'm going to click back on the home here. And we're going to go into a spreadsheet here in just a minute that's already been set up. So that's where you start with a blank or with a template. And down in the lower section are all the different documents you've already worked on that are available for you to work on some more. And there's several ways you can manage these documents. The default here is it shows them to you in the most recent order. So the one you opened most recently shows up on top. You can see this one was open 27 minutes ago. This one was open an hour ago, several days ago. You can also pin workbooks. So if you pin a workbook, it puts this little pin here and puts it in this separate section. This is for workbooks that you use infrequently, but you want to be able to find them. Maybe it's something you do once a quarter or once a year. To pin something, you just go over here where you can see this little pin and click on it. And you can see when I hover over it, it says pin this item to the list. So I'm going to click that pin. And now in the document, you can see the pin. And if I come over here to my pin documents, it's now in the list as well. These are sorted by name as opposed to when they were opened. If I want to take something out of the pinned list, I just do the reverse. I come over here, click here. And again, if you look down below my cursor, it says unpin the item from the list. That takes it out of the list. So that's a handy way to keep up with the ones you use sporadically, but you want to be able to find them without having to scroll down through a real long list of worksheets from over here. And this third one is shared with me. You can share your documents with other people, and they'll show up here, or if anyone has shared a document with you. So let's go ahead and actually go into a spreadsheet and see how those work. If there's no questions about any of that background material.
Wayne, where are these documents stored? Are they on your computer? Are they in the cloud, or do you have it on a flash drive?
That's a good question, and it could be any or all of the above. It's really, Microsoft now has OneDrive, which is the cloud drive, and all of the Microsoft 365 applications, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, are designed to work directly with OneDrive. So that's how they really want you to use it. And that's, I think, the easiest way to do it. But you can also save something to a, let me go and open a document because it'll be easier to show you this as I'm doing it. So this is the workbook we're going to be working on today. But I can go up here and do a file and save a copy. And so I can save it on my PC if I want to save it on my PC, or I can save it into OneDrive if I want to put it in the cloud drive. So it lets me put it either place. And of course, if I go to this PC, if I have a thumb drive attached, and I think I do, Yep, so I've got a thumb drive in there. I could save it on the thumb drive as well. So it lets you do any of the above, but it really makes it easier to store it in OneDrive. Does that answer your question? And there is one thing that
Yes,
you-
it does. Thank you.
there is one thing. Okay. I'm going to slide this down just a little bit. There is one thing that you can do if you're using OneDrive that you can't if you don't. And you can see mine is set to autosave is on. Autosave means I don't ever have to click the save button. I just type in when I'm done, I can close this down without worrying about losing something I forgot to save. But you can only autosave if it's being stored in OneDrive. If it's on your PC or a thumb drive, you've got to actually click the save button like we have been doing for years and years. If it's in OneDrive, I can still choose to turn autosave off, but I usually have it turned on just for that feature where it automatically saves what I'm doing. So let's talk a minute about the ribbon. You know, this is where all the commands that I can use when I'm entering and editing my workbook live. And it's set up into different tabs. So these are the tabs: the Home tab, the Insert tab, the Page Layout tab. And you can see there's lots and lots of functions that I can perform. To make this a little easier, they're first segregated into groups. So these are all the commands that have to do with fonts. Here's all the commands that have to do with alignment, formatting, numbers, etc. And then these are the actual commands. It's a little intimidating. Luckily, you don't have to know all of these to use it. In fact, we're going to use a very small subset of all of these different commands today, but it does show you the power and functionality that exists within Excel. So this is our first spreadsheet. And if you're not familiar with spreadsheets, and again, this class is for people that are either totally new to Excel or maybe have used it but haven't used it for a while and want to relearn or dig a little deeper. So I'm going to start with the basics. And spreadsheets are set up in sets of rows and columns. And the intersection of a row and a column is called a cell. So this cell is the intersection of column C and row 8. And it actually tells me up here what my cell is. So that cell's name is C8. Cells are the only place you can enter information. Cells are what we work on. So cells are the basic building block of any spreadsheet. Okay. Obviously, columns are lettered, rows are numbered. And in terms of what you can put into a cell, there are 4 different types of things I can put into a cell. I can put in numbers, text, dates, and formulas. But cells work a little different than if you're used to just typing into a word processor, into a email editor. You can see here this cell, which is cell B3, has 524 showing, and that is what that cell is displaying. But if I click on that cell, and if you look up here to the formula bar, this is called the formula bar, it shows me the true contents of that cell. The true contents are 5.238456, but it's showing me 5.24. So you can format that actual number the way you want to show it. And this is what you'll see on the spreadsheet. If I print this spreadsheet, that's what will print out. But so that's a new concept for some people. So what you see here is not the true contents of the cell. You have to click on the cell to see what it really is. I can also double click here and it will show me the true contents of the cell. So I can either click here and look up at the formula bar or double click in the cell. Now I can change this formatting, and we'll talk about formatting more later, but if I want to add more decimal places or remove decimal places, I can click here and change the formatting of the cell. Text is pretty simple. Text is pretty much what you type in. Dates are really a special type of number. So you can see here when I look at the cell, it says Thursday, January 2nd, 2020, gives me lots of information. What's actually stored in that cell is 1/2/2020. So again, I can format this date to look differently depending on what I'm looking for. I could go up here and change this to be a short date instead of that long date that I've got there. The contents don't change. I'm just changing the formatting. And also a handy command is up here in the top row. That's the undo command. So if you do something and you don't like what you did, you can click the undo up here and it'll put it back like it was. Very handy to have. Okay. Next is formulas. This is really one of the other basic building blocks components of spreadsheets. And think about a formula like working on a calculator. So in this case, the contents, the display says 15. The true contents of the cell is 12 plus 3. So think about a calculator. If I was going to add 12 plus 3 on a calculator, I would type in 12, hit the plus, type in 3, hit equal, and I'd see 15 in the display. It works the same basic way, except I put the equal first. So in this case, equal 12 plus 3, result is 15. And again, I can double click here, see the cell as well. Everybody kind of got the basic way that spreadsheets work in terms of entering information into cells. And again, if you have questions, just unmute and ask away. Let's take this idea.
Wayne, on the formula, so what you input on that, did you input 11 or equals 12 plus 3, or what did you put in?
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Good question. And we're going to go to the next sheet. And this whole file is called a workbook. You can have multiple sheets, or they're also called spreadsheets in here. So I'm going to go to the next spreadsheet and then we're going to dig deeper into formulas. So let me show you how I did that one over here. So we're going to do a lot of them. So I'm going to do a very simple formula. I'm just going to add 42 and 148. So yes, you have to type equal. And then I just type 42 and hit the plus sign on my keyboard, type 148, hit the enter on my keyboard. There's the result, 190. What's actually in that cell is equal 42 plus 148. So that's a very simple formula. I'm just using numbers. Now in spreadsheet, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right, great. Now let's get a little more complicated because really this doesn't have a whole lot of value. I do this with a calculator. What spreadsheets are really designed to do is to work with cells. So in this case, I'm going to divide the contents of B3 by 10. So to do that, I'm going to do equal again. You always have to start with equal. I could type B3, but you can also just click on it. So I'm just going to move my cursor up here and left click. And it now enters B3 for me. That's faster and less error prone. And then to divide, I put the slash and type in 10 and hit enter on the keyboard. And indeed, 190 divided by 10 is 19. There's my formula. And I can double click down here and see the same formula. So that's a formula that's using cell references and numbers. And as you probably have guessed by now, I can also have a formula that only uses cell references. So I want to subtract B5 from B3. So I can put equals B5. I'm going to put minus and click on B3, then click on B5. There's my formula, hit enter. 190 minus 19 is 171. Here's my formula. Questions? Everybody understand the concept of putting in formulas? Now, these formulas can get more complex. I mean, it works the same way from here, but I could say B3 minus B5 plus B7. I could put all that in parentheses and divide it by another one. So all the rules of algebra apply here. Create equations. Picking up a little bit of background noise again, so let me just quickly mute everybody. Okay. All right, so again, I'm going to keep going. If you have questions, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. I said that dates are really numbers, and that means you can do math with those dates. So if I want to know how many days is it from December 4th to December 24th, I can treat that like any other number. I can just say equals 1224 minus 12.4, and it tells me it's 20 days from 12.4 to 1224. That comes in handy in lots of cases in spreadsheets where you need to do some math using numbers. And I'm going to show you one trick here from the tips and tricks category. When you're setting up tables, and we're going to go into a table in just a minute, but lots of times tables are set up across time. So you'll have maybe you're setting up a budget, and you're going to have your expenses, and you're going to have January, February, March, April, May. And then you put your expenses in there for each month. So if you're setting something up like that up, and let's say I'm starting with days, so it's going to be something, a weekly event that I'm keeping track of. I could type Monday, then type Tuesday, then type Wednesday. That's pretty tedious. What you can do instead is put your first event in here, and then touch that bottom right corner. When I move it here, you see my cursor changes from a big white X to a small black X. Hold the left button, mouse button down, and you just pull this across, and it replicates that sequence across. That also works if I'm using a different formatted version, or if I'm doing months. So it makes it much easier to format your tables when you're getting started setting up a table. It also works if I'm going to do rows. So if I want to have the rows be my months, you can do that as well. Just a little trick to help you setting up your tables. So let's go look at a table. Here's a table. This is Wade's Club, my club. These are the members of the club, what tier they're in, what they're paying each month to be in my club. And I've also got a column here to figure out what percent of the total it is. I haven't filled that in yet. So we're going to start with this table and do some work on it. And we're going to introduce another concept, and this is formulas and functions. So functions are like formulas. They start with an equal, but they're like templated or pre-formatted formulas. And they follow this basic format. You have the name, equal sign, plus the name of the function, and then the range of cells you're acting upon. So in this example, this function says sum up the values of A1 through A20. These are called the arguments. So let's look at a few functions. These are really handy. Again, this is one of the magic parts of spreadsheets. So the first thing I want to do is count how many members I've got in my club. And yes, I could count these without a function, but let's say eventually my club has over 200 members and I can't look at it and see the answer. So I want a function to tell me how many members I've got. So I click where I want the answer to be. And then I'm going to come up here to the ribbon. And this is where your functions are. So I'm going to click that little down arrow beside it. And it shows me the most commonly used ones here. And here's the one I'm looking for, count numbers. So I just say count. And Excel guesses what range I want to count from, and it did a good job. This is indeed the range I want to count. So I can just hit enter. And it counts, and indeed there are 4 members in the club. There's 4 different numbers. It's not summing these numbers, it's counting how many rows have something in it. Let's do another couple to kind of make this make more sense, hopefully, as we're going along. So I also want to know how much money did I take in this month. So I want to, in this case, sum up this column. I clicked here. This is where I want the answer to be, at the bottom of that column. Come back up here and click sum. and I've got 606 summing up these cells.
Wade,
Uh-huh.
when you had done the count, could you also have counted the entries in where the names are? Would it have done it there too?
There's a different function you have to use. You can do that.
Okay.
There's several different count functions,
Uh-huh.
and this one counts numbers. If you're counting text, you have to use a different one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you can count whatever is in there. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the last thing I want to do is figure out what's the average amount my people are paying. What's the average member of the club paying? So again, I've been putting the answer at the bottom of the column, but you don't have to do that. I can put the answer over here. I can put it anywhere I want it to. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to grab average. And it guessed what I'm looking for, and it guessed pretty poorly that time. So I'll just show it what I really want. I really want you to start here and sum up down to here. So I just use the left mouse button and select those cells, and it selects C4 through C8. That's right. And hit enter. And the average is 152. So everybody kind of get how the functions work. There's a lot more types of functions, and there's a follow-on class to this one, which is Excel Intermediate. And in that class, we talk about a lot of other types of functions. Okay. But questions before I move on?
Wait, can you repeat that? I heard a lot of background noise. I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was just saying that there are other types of functions. There's logic function and text functions, and we cover those in the follow-on class to this class, which is called Excel Intermediate, where we kind of pick up where we leave off here and get into more complex functions and formulas and other things. But these are the basic ones. These are the ones you use the most. That's why they're in this first drop-down list. What I'm going to do, if there's no questions about functions, is go back to formulas for a second and show you a more complex formula, but it's one that you use a lot in spreadsheets. And that is the, if you want to do a percentage. So in this case, I want to know what percentage of my total monthly revenue did John Doe contribute? So I'm going to do an equal, and I'm going to say, this is how much John Doe contributed. And what percent of the total income is that? And it's 33%. That looks reasonable, seems right. I want to copy this formula down. There's two ways to copy it down. I'll show you both of them. One way is just to grab this bottom right corner like we did on the previous page when we were setting up our column headers. In this case, I'm just going to pull it down, and it's going to copy that formula down. But you can see I got a problem here. And it says I've divided by 0. And let me show you what happened and how to fix it. When you copy a formula, it increments both of the, or in fact, all of the cell references in that formula. So I started with C4 divided by C10. That was right. When I copied it down, it incremented to C5, which is right, divided by C11, which is here. I don't want that cell. I want it to keep using this cell, but work its way down through these in the numerator. And there's a trick to do that. And this is just kind of a rote memory thing. You have to put a $ in front of the row and the column, which basically says, don't increment this when you copy it.
Hello, wait. Someone has a question. He's saying that you are going to fast. Where did you click to get the average? Basically, they are asking how to get the average.
Okay, I will do that one again. All right. Let's go ahead and finish the percentage, and we'll go back and do another. And I'm going to do another function after this one, which hopefully will, and if there's still questions, ask again. But I'll show you how to do one more function when I'm finished here. Okay. So again, this one's a little complicated. Any questions here? So what I want to do is I want the numerator to change, but I don't want the denominator to change. I'm always dividing by the total, but I'm taking each person's monthly amount and dividing it by the total. So by putting this $, that's basically says don't increment that bottom part. So I'm going to copy this down. I'm going to do it a different way just to show you different ways. I'm going to use the mouse and the left button and just select those cells and do a keyboard shortcut. Hold the control and the D, control down, which is for copy down. And so it copied it down. Now it's working correctly. Questions about that one? That one's a little complicated. But
So
it's when
you
you use a
changed
lot.
You changed the formula in D4. That's where you put the dollar signs on that, in that place? When you got the-
Yes, because that's the one I was going to
that's the
copy
one you're gonna
down.
Copy down, right, okay.
Yeah. And I could go into each one individually and change it, obviously, but I just did it in the first one and then copied the updated formula down. Okay. So I think there was enough.
Will your examples be included? Are you sending some of your examples?
We're not sending out the slides and the sheet, but the session is being recorded, so you can get the recording,
that's right.
see it all
Yeah.
again. And I am sending a link to a website that has these same functions and features, how to do them, and you can look at that link as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, but the easiest thing is probably to go back and get the recording, and where you can see it again if you missed something or want to see how
Yeah.
it works again.
Thank
But I know there was one question still about the functions, and I'm going to do one more function because when I'm looking at this, I think this is right, but I'm not sure. But I know that this should add up to be 100%. So I'm going to do one more function. So let me do another one to show you how those work. So I want the answer to be right here. I could put it anywhere, but I'm going to put it right there. And I come up here to the functions, click the down arrow. And in this case, I want to sum up all those percentages and make sure they sum up to 100. So I click sum. And again, you have the equal sign, the function name, and then the argument. So this is saying sum up everything from D4 through D8. This is D4, this is D8. So that's what I wanted to do, is sum up those cells. I hit enter. It sums those cells, and indeed it does add up to 100%. Here's my formula again, equals the sum of D4 through D8. This is D4, this is D8. It's adding up everything in those cells. Did that answer whoever had a question about the functions? So if there's no other questions here, we're going to keep going because we're getting close to the end of class, but we got enough time because we haven't talked about formatting yet. And I want to spend a little bit of time on that. I'm going to move this around so I can get to it. So this table looks nice. It's pretty, but let me show you how we got there. Because if I'm starting, when I'm doing a new spreadsheet, I typically first put in the data and put in the formulas and all my functions and equations, and then I pretty it up. So let's go into this one now and show you how you can format your table. And a lot of the formatting is like what you're used to from spreadsheets and other things. So let's say I want to bold this cell. I just click on the cell and click the bold or italics or underline. What's nice about spreadsheets is I can work on rows and columns. So in this case, I don't have to click every cell and bold it one at a time. I can click here on the number for the row. That selects the entire row. So whatever I do now affects everything in that row. So I've now bolded all the column headers with one click. I can do the same thing with columns. I can either select the entire column or I can select a range of cells. So in this case, maybe I just want to select this range of cells and center them. So I click here and I now have centered that entire range. So I can work on a range of cells, an entire column, or an entire row. Or it's not likely that you do it, but you can click the entire spreadsheet. And if you want to set a particular font and font size for the entire spreadsheet, clicking in this upper right corner, upper left corner selects the entire spreadsheet. So that's taking care of a couple of things here. If you look at it, I've got a problem here because I'm chopping off part of the name. There's a couple of ways to adjust column sizes, and row sizes work the same way, but we're going to work on the column. That's where my problem is. If you put your cursor up here on a column and then start moving it toward the next column, it changes to arrows pointing in both directions. Once I get that change, if I hold the left mouse button, I can drag this column out and make it bigger, or I can drag it the other way and make it smaller. So that's one way I can adjust the size. And that works pretty well, especially if I can see the whole table. Now, if I had 300 rows in this table, somewhere down here, there could be somebody like me, which has a long name. So I've manually set it so it looks good with what I can see, but I don't know that there's a long name down there I can't see. The other way to do this, again, is to get that double arrow, but instead of manually adjusting it, just double click. And it automatically widens that column out to accommodate the largest cell in the column. Does everybody get that one? I'm going to delete this one and put it back where it looks nice with the information we've got. I can do the same thing again. I can double click. It adjusted it to fit what's in the cell now. I took out that long one. So that's one way. I've taken care of this problem. Some more formatting that I want to do. These are all numbers. So I want those to be formatted as numbers. I'm going to select the whole column, come up here and select the $ number format, and it'll format those all as numbers. It defaults to 2 decimal places, but if I want fewer decimal places, I can make it just be 1 decimal place. It's still in currency format. So that took care of that problem. Same thing here. I want these to be percents. I'll do the whole row at one time. Click up here where it says percents. I can add more decimal places or fewer decimal places if I want to. I can take it out to 1 decimal place. And now my numbers are all formatted the way I want it. I probably want that to be a number too, since that is a number. Let's fix that one. And now I've got a problem. When anytime you see the hash marks like that, it means that it won't fit. I'll use my other trick. Double click, it widens it out so it'll fit. Questions? I'm going through this fairly quickly. Am I going too quick? Questions about anything I've done so far?
You double click right or you double click left?
You want at the right side of the cell. So if or the column I'm working on. So if I want to adjust this column, go to the right side of that column.
I'm talking about the mouse, Wade.
Oh, left click. Sorry. Yep.
Left click.
Yep. Double click the left mouse. Yep. Good question. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Again, if you have questions, please just unmute and ask your questions. I got a problem here. I can't see this whole, it says monthly fee, but I can't read the whole thing. And what I can do is to select this and come up here. And if you hover over any of these, it tells you what it's going to do. And it tells me I'm going to wrap the text. So let me click this and show you what that means. So it now wraps that part I couldn't see underneath, makes it fit. So now I've got 2 words, 1 word stacked on top of the other one, wrapped around underneath the other one. If that looks better, I probably want to center it to make it look a little nicer. So I can do that. And now that looks better. I got the same problem here. I had to do 2 things to fix this one. If you've done several things, you've got one cell formatted just the way you want it, and you want another cell to look just like that one, there's a trick here. What I can do is to click on the one that looks like I want it, come up here to the little paintbrush, and that's your format painter. So I'm saying, take that format and paint it here. So I just come over and click where I want to paint it. And now it's done the same thing to that one. It wrapped it and centered it. So save me one click. I'm lazy. If I can save one click, it's nice. If I had 20 columns and I was going to copy it to all 20, I could do that in one type and change 20 of them, which does save me a lot of time. Okay. One other thing, some of these are a little more complicated. So again, but I want to do something with my title. So first, I probably want to bold it and make it larger. So that looks better. If I wanted to change the font, I could change the font too. If I wanted to go with something different to make it stand out. But I don't want it to be left justified. I want it to be centered over my table. And in order to do that, what I want to do is to merge all these cells together into one cell and then center it in that one cell. So what I'm going to do is select the cells that I want to merge together and come up here. And when I hover over this, you can see it says merge and center. That's what I want to do. I'm going to click that. So now you can see this is only one cell instead of 4 cells. And I've centered that title inside that one cell. So now if I change my column widths, that title is always centered over the top of my table. All right, 2 more things, and then I'll stop for questions again. What most people do with tables is to highlight them by putting borders around the cells. So I select all the cells in my table, and I come up here, and if you hover here, it says border. And I want the one that says all borders, which means put borders around all the cells. And now that kind of highlights that table, makes it stand out on the page. The last thing I'm going to do is put a background over my column headers to make them stand out a little bit more. That's right here, fill colors. And I'm going to pick a nice blue. And I'm done. All right, got time for a few questions about anything we've talked about today, or even something I didn't talk about, possibly. Open question.
Question about how do you say, if you were to save this now, would you go up to auto save as long as the OneDrive is on? Or
If OneDrive is on, I don't have to do anything. It's automatically saved.
automatically saves it.
Yeah,
So
I can
find
delete it.
Next time you came on, you'd find it.
I can shut it down
Uh-huh.
and then reopen it. Go back into that
There it
same
is, yeah,
spreadsheet,
okay.
and it's just like it was when I left it.
Great.
That's the nice thing about the autosave.
Mhm.
Yep. Other questions?
Wait, is
Uh-huh.
this like the Google Sheets work sheet?
The autosave works just like Google Sheets does, yes.
Okay.
So basically, this is a case where Google came up with that idea and Microsoft copied it. Most of it's the other way around, but yeah, this is something that I think Google originated and Microsoft saw the value of it and incorporated it.
Hey, Wade, could you go over the count function again?
Absolutely. So let me, I'll put it somewhere else because again, you can put it anywhere. So I'm going to put it right there. And I'm going to go up to my functions and select count. And I'm going to do 2 things. I'll pick up another question. You notice this one says count numbers. So I'm going to pick that one and it guesses what I want to count, and it was way off base. I wanted it to count these. And it gives me 4. Now, somebody asked about counting over here. If I did the same thing here, it's not going to work because those aren't numbers. It's going to say 0. There's a separate count that says count if there's anything in there. So there's lots of functions. In fact, and we go into a lot more in the intermediate class, but if you click on formulas, you can see there's dozens and dozens and dozens of different formulas that you can use. I was going to show you one other thing real quick that I forgot to show you, which is really getting back to the power of the spreadsheets. And that is that as you change them, everything automatically recalculates. So if I come in and say June is paying a lot less than everybody else, I'm going to jack up her fee to $200. The percentages all recalc, the monthly fee recalcs, the average recalcs. If I add a new member, and when I do this, it now ups the count to 5. When I put in whatever, I'm raising my rates, it adjusts all the numbers, the percents recalc. So that's the magic part of a spreadsheet. You set up your table, you put in all your formulas and your functions, and then you're just doing your normal business, adding and subtracting things. Maybe Bob drops out of the club. I right click, select that whole row, right click and say clear the contents, takes him out. I'm back to 4 members. It adjusted all my other totals automatically. So
Say you had this-
Wait,
Chris,
say
Howard?
you had this spreadsheet set up, and for example, for say taxes of 2020, and now you want to go in and just erase the data, but not the spreadsheet itself. Is there some way to do that so you can erase the data, without manually going in and getting rid of everything one cell by, cell?
Yeah, I can. So in this case, this is all data. These are all the formulas and things. I can just select that data and say clear the contents, and now it's zeroed out. I just copy this one down. So I've got that one filled in, and I'm ready to start putting in next month's or next year's.
I see. Oh, that's great. Yep. Okay, thank you.
okay, wait. Someone has a query. If the entire sheet was completed, how can it be condensed to print all the info clearly?
Yeah, it's a fairly complicated answer, and that's in the intermediate class. We spend a lot of time on how you can format and print to control the printing. So I would suggest taking that Excel intermediate class, and I'll show you how to get to that one in just a minute, because we do talk about printing in that one. The real short answer, I'll show you the real short answer is to how to print is you go to File and come down here to Print. But then there's all these controls in terms of how you can format and change how it prints and what it looks like. So this is why it's not a 1-minute answer. It's about a 15-minute answer. But we do cover that in the other class. And I do need to move on. We are 4 minutes from the top of the hour, and I do want to get you out of here in time if you're taking another class. So let me go ahead and go to the closing here. And so this is the end of the actual Excel class, and I do want to thank you for attending the class. There's 2 related classes that I think I've already mentioned. The Excel intermediate class really picks up where this class left off. We go into different types of functions, how to sort, how to print, how to do charts and graphs are all covered in that next class. And we talked about OneDrive several times. There is a Microsoft OneDrive class as well. So those are both follow-on classes that will help fill in some of the gaps from this class. Now, after class, you'll get an email. I've mentioned this a time or two as well, so I want to make sure everybody understands how this works. If you, in that email, there's going to be several sections. There's going to be a class notes section, and this is where it's going to have those links I talked about to some related information. So be sure and click on those links if you want to see that information. There'll be links to 3 other classes. So if you want to take any one of those classes, you can click that link in the email. Up in this section, I'm going to have links to those 2 follow-on classes we just mentioned, the Excel Intermediate and the Microsoft OneDrive. Those links will be in this class notes section of the email as well. And these are some additional classes you might want to take. So lots of links here to additional classes. We're trying to make it easy to find something to take next. There's a give feedback link, which opens our feedback page. Very simple, only 2 questions. How do you want to rate the session, 1 to 5 stars? And how do you want to rate the guide, 1 to 5 stars? Done. There is a section for comments. We really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to add some comments, but they're not required. And then finally, there's a view schedule link here. And if you click on that view schedule link, it will take you back to our website. I want to call out a couple of things here to make sure you found them. At the very center of the page is View My Complete Schedule. If you click there, it will take you to your schedule. It'll have all the classes you've registered for. You can launch your classes from here. So this is sort of your control panel. Easy to get there from that home page. You can also browse by date and time or by class category. These were in the old website. They've just moved around a little bit. The easiest way to find a class, if you know what you're looking for, is just to come up here. And if you're looking for that Excel class, intermediate class, you can just start typing. Here's the class we just took, and here's the Excel intermediate class. So you can click on that, and it will take you to the registration page for that class. You can just go ahead and book it. There's actually 2 different dates for that class on the schedule. One of them is 2 days from now. There's a tell friends about this class. This is new. So if you want to have someone else take this class with you, you can invite them from here. Just click here and click either one of these, Facebook, WhatsApp, or email. And you can send them a link to the class so they can take it with you. This is helpful if they're new to get set up. It'll take them right to the registration page so they don't have to navigate through the website. And one last thing that people have asked for, I'll show you and then still get you out of here in time. There's an About the Guide tab now that wasn't here before. It tells you a little bit about the guide, but it also has what classes that guide teaches. So you can come down here to see other classes that that guide teaches. So if you want to take additional classes from them, you can look at what they're teaching and just book straight from here. So these are the classes on the schedule for me in this case, whichever guide you're in, it'll be their classes. All right, so we are right at the top of the hour.
Wait.
Yes.
Just confirm the next class. Can you please confirm the next class, your intermediate topics for Excel?
Oh, when is it going to be?
Yeah.
It is April 15th at 10 o'clock Eastern.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, so that we are at the top of the hour and we got done just on time. I do want to thank you for attending. Hope you enjoyed the class and hope I see you again in another class really soon. Everybody have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Wade.
Thanks, Wade. Great job. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.